Your biggest fear as an Airbnb host is
parties! But it's all right, because we're going to help you with 11 ways to avoid parties in your Airbnb. Hi, I'm Sarah Karakan.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are.
Thanks for visiting.
We have been hosting short-term rentals for over a decade, welcome tens of thousands of guests into our homes.
We have thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews, and every year we manage over $1.5 million of booking revenue.
And we are here to help you with your Airbnb.
But you gotta stick around to the end, because the last tip has proven to be our tried and true method to avoiding parties at our Airbnbs.
Tip number 1, guest vetting. And there's 2 different ways this happens. It's if someone sends an inquiry or if you have an instant book.
What you do is the same thing, but if a guest inquires about coming to stay with you, you are going to, of course, have a conversation with that guest, find out why they're coming. You don't have to even ask specific questions, just get in a conversation and see how you feel. But then you're gonna head over to their profile and you're gonna look to see where they're from. Any information that they give you about themselves is good. Go into their review section next. See what their reviews are and actually read them. And then if you happen to notice that they've got a lot of reviews from the same host, here's my best tip for you. Go check out that host. Why are they staying with them over and over and over again? In our experience, it's because that host is asleep at the wheel. And this person has decided to stay mostly with this host because they know they can get away with just about anything when they stay at their properties. We have a list of hosts that are asleep at the wheel in our area, so our whole team can reference them. If someone comes into our world wanting to stay with us and they have stayed with these hosts over and over again, it's a huge red flag for us.
And those reviews are normally automated. This is the hot tip there. It'll be really simple, like, great guest, would host again. Great guest, would host again. You'll see that these are automated messages that are just being pumped out by that host.
Okay, with Instant Book, it's the same process. And if you're anyone out there is like afraid of the Instant Book process, we fear not, because as long as you have your house rules dialed in, and we're gonna go over that later in this video, you're gonna be actually more than fine. Because once someone Instant Books, you're not gonna be asleep at the wheel. You are still going to check out who this guest is. If they haven't already offered up the information about why they're coming, you're gonna ask them. And then you're gonna go to their profile and you're gonna check out their reviews. It's the same thing. So just because the booking was instant doesn't mean like that's it, like they're staying with you, tough luck if they're not a good fit. No. You still have the right to see why they're coming, who they are, and if they are not aligned with your house rules, you will have more power to cancel that reservation because they instant booked.
Tip 2, respond to your reviews. Yes, this is so important and it's so easy for us to do. You want to respond to every review. And the reason being, it's not really for the guests that just stayed at all. It's for your future guests, okay? Your future guests can see, wow, this host is not asleep at the wheel. They are engaging with guests. They're saying, thanks, come again. That right there, just showing that person, that potential guest, that you are on top of it. And that will help you to deter those guests that want to party.
Tip number 3, appropriate guest count. I got a text from a friend the other day who is taking over running a condo from his mother-in-law. He's gonna do it for her. And he's trying to make all these changes. And it's a 3-bed, 2-bath condominium. So we're sharing walls on all sides. And he was asking me like, hey, can I add a couch here? Can I add like a trundle sofa here? What if I put an air mattress over here? And I'm like, wait a minute. If you go from allowing 6 guests, so 2 guests per room, to like 9, 10, 11 guests, you're like asking for a party to happen. So I am just suggesting to you to take the square footage of your property and the other outside factors, like whether you share walls or you're in a community where they already have short-term rentals on their like naughty list, and being really respectful of that. So you can also tap into data and see if you're a 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-bath home and you allow 6 people versus allowing 8 people or 9 people or 10 people, does the data actually show that you're gonna make more money? In a lot of cases, it actually doesn't. And now you have less wear and tear on your property. So when I say appropriate guest count, depending on how many rooms you have, maybe a sleeper sofa in the living room, I really think capping it at that and making sure that you're not asking for a party to happen. Tip number 4, minimum night stays. Here's where I want you to understand in your marketplace, how long is an average stay? I'm gonna give you the example of where we live here in Columbus, Ohio. So for weekends, it is very easy for us to get 2-night stays. So guess what? We're gonna have a 2-night minimum. It's actually better for us financially, and it tends to keep the partiers who just want to deter a one-night stay over the weekend from even happening. That is not to say that during the week here in Columbus, Ohio, we don't welcome one-night stays with open arms, because if we didn't, we would be financially strapped, right? So
calendars would be bleak.
They would be bleak. So it really comes into like you thinking of your marketplace. What is an average night stay? What is something that you can demand, and stick with that time frame? So just be aware that when people do book one night stays, it's nothing to say that it's like a huge red flag, but it does warrant you digging in a little bit deeper about why they're coming.
Tip number 5, you need to have awareness about the amenities that might seem party welcoming. And these amenities are awesome to have. Let's say it's a hot tub, a pool, a golf simulator, maybe some outdoor games. These things are fine. We want to have them to welcome our guests, but it's the way that we describe them, it's the way that we photograph them, and how we want the guests to use them. So we want to be very clear on these amenities in our descriptions. Now, on the total flip side of unwanted parties, there are properties that are purposeful. They are for parties. We know so many hosts that have wedding parties, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties. That's the guests they're looking for, because those parties bring in amazing profits. But you've got to have the systems so you can be prepped for that next party crew coming in. And Sarah, what do we use?
We live and die by Breezeway and their amazing checklists. This way, when a guest leaves and they leave a heavier footprint, which was totally expected, nothing's damaged, it's just a heavier footprint, we know that with our checklist, we are going to get the property back to square one super easy. Why? Because Breezeway allows us to have photos of the way things are supposed to look when it's guest ready. So that coffee bar, or the bed, or the living room area, or the pool area, the game room, all that stuff is dialed in. Maybe you're using technology to help you wean, high levels of noise. Like you can have a checklist. Okay, is that set? Is that plugged in, ready to go? Yes. On Breezeway, I can check it off as done. I can take notes. I can send it off, and I have documentation of what that cleaning experience was like. Definitely check out Breezeway. It is one of our most favorite apps for running our properties, and we know it will be yours too.
Tip number 6, still sticking with the party trend here. If you are in an area that lends to partying, for example, we are in downtown Columbus. It is where all the bars, all the restaurants, all the concerts take place. Many of our guests come here to go out, to celebrate, to party, and they might even pre-party a little bit, but we make sure to encourage them. Where are all the spots that they can go? What breweries can they go to? What game spots? Where should they enjoy these celebrations outside of the property? So again, this is about having awareness about your surroundings and how you can lend your guest to go outside of the home to celebrate.
Tip number 7 is getting a security deposit. It might seem old school, but it still works. And for us, we found it works really well with larger properties. So if you've got a larger property where damage or a party situation can happen and really screw up your day, asking for a larger security deposit, asking them to put some skin in the game that they cannot get back if they don't abide by your rules, it still works today. So go ahead and do it and feel good about it.
Tip number 8, this is a good one.
Save the address of your property until shortly before check-in. I'm not talking like a couple of hours. I mean, give them a couple days, but there's no reason why the vicinity in which the property isn't good enough, and you can give them the exact address. We give it 3 days before arrival. Okay, this does not give people time in normal circumstances to make like hundreds of flyers to hand out to all of their buddies, right? The check-in code, they don't need that too far in advance. As long as they have like the about location. Some of you might be in more rural areas. People really want to plan the trip situation. In those situations, I like to actually speak to the guests before they arrive and connect them over the phone and get that vibe going. So if you have a more remote location, I understand why 3 days might not be enough time. But if you're in a more metro location, there is no reason why they need to have your exact address more than a couple days before their arrival.
Tip number 9 is allowing same-day bookings, but they have to be manually approved. So what do I mean by that? You can still have instant book on. We still want you to do same day bookings, because if your guests are like me, I'm an awesome guest and I am a last minute.
Last minute.
I think I booked my last Airbnb
in her Uber
after like 5 p.m. So you don't want to block out amazing guests like me, but you do want to make it where you still do have to manually accept them on that reservation the day of. And that's super easy to do. It's a setting that you can check off, but definitely you just want to know at the end. And like, I have no issues when that guest is like, hey, what are you coming in town to? I actually told them ahead of time, hey, coming in town last minute for work, bada bing, bada boom, accepted, check-in instructions set.
Tip number 10 is technology. More specifically, we use NoiseAware. NoiseAware is, or noise monitoring devices that are privacy safe. They are approved by Airbnb. You have to use them responsibly. You have to disclose them to guests. But the cool thing about this technology is it knows how, like, that you can set the decibel level of the noise in your property. And so if it goes above that, it automatically sends a message to your guests that you don't even have to do it the first time. And a lot of the times, that's all a guest needs is like one little like, hey, you're getting a little too loud. And most guests are like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, not a problem. And it's not even something you had to even worry about or do because it does it automatically. It will also measure how many iPhones, laptops, iPads are signing into your property. And if it's like over an amount, like let's say you're like a 1-bedroom property or a 2-bedroom property and you've got like 16 devices attaching, it warrants a message to the guest to make sure like, hey, how many people are in the property? And again, this is all done, privacy safe, Airbnb approved. We love it. If you want to learn more about NoiseAware and how we use it in our properties, you can check out this video. We'll also link to it below, but it's a great party squasher. Squisher.
Don't delay, like install this today. We have so many hosts wait until the party occurs.
And then
you
they're
want
like,
to put this in place ahead of time. So you heard it from us. Don't delay, install NoiseAware today. Drum roll, please. Tip number 11, Sarah.
Tip number 11 is dialed in house rules. Here, it's not like what you think. Like, well, partiers are not going to read my house rules, Sarah. They're not like rule followers like you are. So like, why even bother? Well, I'll tell you why you bother. If you set boundaries for who is a good fit for your property, someone who doesn't want to have a party, and it's in your house rules, that is the ammo you need when you want to cancel an instant book stay, or when a stay has already started and a guest is breaking your rules and you have them posted, listed, you cannot argue with it, and you go to cancel their stay because they are not in alignment, they are breaking your house rules. This is the document. These are the rules that any of the OTAs or even yourself or the court of law is going to go to and look at and say, yeah, they agreed to the house rules by booking. You are breaking the house rules. You'll have more of a case.
Let's give them a specific, like super hosting hot tip though about local guests in the house rules there.
Yeah. So, and we are in a metro market. I don't know how much this would pertain to more rural or more vacation rental, but in our metro market, we don't allow guests to book our properties who are from the area. Unfortunately, there are more bad apples who are in the same area who book local stays. Now, we have had the instance where someone wants to book for like a mother-in-law coming to town, like a friend coming into town. They want them to stay at a property nearby. We love that.
Or they're rehabbing their house. Like there are instances, and those are the ones that we'll obviously communicate with and talk through.
Talk through, still review them as a person. But if you have in the house rules that you don't allow local guests, there is no discrimination here. There is no nothing. Like that is black and white. That is your rule. That way you can feel good about saying, unfortunately, we're not a good fit. There are amazing hotels in the area, or perhaps you'll find another host that you can stay with who doesn't have this rule. But for us, it's a rule that we decided on long ago and we're going to stick to it.
We have a video all about house rules, so make sure to check that out also.
It has taken us years to build out our house rules. As you can imagine, we've learned from other hosts. We've learned from our own mistakes. So if you want to go ahead and grab our house rules so that you can add to them, you can take away things that don't pertain to you, make it your own, but at least give you somewhere to start, go into the notes below, grab our house rule starter kit. And with that, I'm Sarah Karakan.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are Thanks for Visiting.